lame, but yeah. All right, so we got one spiral right here and a second spiral right here. It totally looks like hurricanes, like galaxies, and that is just MonoAtomics in a jar. And why does it not? Weird. All right, not letting me zoom in, but good enough, I guess, just to see the photos of the formations of the monatomics. So you can see as it develops into bigger spirals. And then this was a cloud of, I believe, titanium monoatomics above that also did the double spiral. When I put more water in with them, and this original red spirals down here was with the red Ormus scans material, and just fascinating. I absolutely love it every time I see them when they make these natural self-organizing spirals. And all right, what else do we have to look at? Yes, right here. This one, we have aluminum aerogel. And on that picture, you can see that it is, in fact, both a droplet as well as a crystal. So is it thixotropic mixture? Is it an actual crystal? There we go. Now it's letting me zoom in. You can see the clear, translucent, clear parts and some translucent, the actual structure, some cleavage, like how crystals break the as some of this gel broke off here. So it chunks with cleavage as it breaks. So it will form as a bit of a dewdrop, but in fact, it breaks off with cleavage and defined crystalline properties in these aerogels that I now make, and that it is still in this droplet crystalline form in the sample that I have taken and collected, and that is currently sitting in front of the Bert and Ernie cam, which isn't working right now. So, well, whatever. We're looking at pictures of it. And so it's on an aluminum rod here in these photos. And then shortly thereafter, it falls and drops and breaks off. So here you can see it on the original aluminum. Not sure. That's a great comment. What are you talking about? What? Talk to and about? Talk to? It's another scam coin, but all right, staying on track. Here you can see aluminum rod, the aluminum aerogel, and then here the aluminum rod had fallen. The aerogel broke off of the aluminum rod that it had been forming on here. It's on my cell phone, and you can still see the droplet as well as the crystal cleavage formations that are within this aerogel. So it is clearly not a liquid. It is a crystallized gel of aluminum, and it holds these drop-like formations and structure within it. Here's some more of what remained on the aluminum piece and some more that had come off. Big chunk, the chunks, and there it was. All right, now we are on to some of my most recent experiments. And these are the triple solenoid coils that are based off of the original coils that I would make from the Keshi designs, the Keshi Foundation, which he calls plasma pens, but I use them as anode cathodes, so it's triple solenoid wire. And the outside on this, for the first time, I'm using titanium, the inner coil copper, and then the innermost wire also titanium. So making titanium monoatomics as well as copper in some of these, and in this monoatomic material. Here we have hydrogen forming. And here's some of the outside. Taking advantage of the Canadian Arctic winter. What else can we do when it's stupid cold outside? Well, we can still do real science. And it was minus 25 degrees Celsius when I was running this experiment. The same temperature it is currently right now. Freaking ridiculously cold. And this is salt water that is completely frozen. Yet, while plugged into a 5-volt USB power here, you can see that the anode and the cathode still running, and that they're actually still bubbling despite the frozen ice, so that it's, despite being no longer liquid, but a solid saltwater block or ice, that the electrolysis reaction, although slowed down, is still happening, and that it actually it melts some of the water immediately around the vicinity of both the anode cathodes, and is still producing hydrogen and oxygen. Thus, the potential for having water-powered cars still in the winter, that these reactions could potentially look like that they would still function in the middle of the winter, even when your water fuel is turned to ice, to be able to produce that hydrogen oxygen electrolysis reaction in the freezing cold solid state, which I found absolutely fascinating. Oops, was going in the wrong direction there. Back to more of swirls. Oh, but now I can zoom in on the swirls. Here we go. Finally, it works. So you can see the different bands of these swirls as it goes around and around and around, and that it is aligned, straight layers of this. I guess Keshi says this is CH3, so copper trioxide, I guess, or hydride, copper trihydride. But still yet to get it's tested with actual labs to find out what each material is. The point being that there's several exclusion zones both below and above these swirling different materials, and that the white, cloudy, fluffy titanium monoatomics are actually an inch or two above the reddish orange material, and that there's gaps and spaces, exclusion zones of just straight water separating each of them, and that these layers are moving not as like convection currents as like the standard physics or fluid dynamics would dictate, but instead they are working, as self-organizing and separating and batteries, like the negative and positive ions, and that they actually this water exclusion zone methods are water and monoatomic, the plasmids, whatever this stuff is, self-organizing into these structures of electric forces and potential magnetic forces, and that they include power, that it is electrochemistry, it is electric universe, basically. Here I've got a copper triple solenoid coil cathode, and then the anode is a double and although it's red and looking copper, that is actually titanium going into the red state and the pink at the bottom state of transmutational metals that Sir Isaac Newton speaks of, and that is titanium coil as the anode, breaking down into the white and gray monoatomics that you see there, and that there's some potential aerogel at the top. Hydrogen coming off of this cathode, oxygen off the anode, but this titanium clusters. And when it starts turning blue, we got titanium oxide essentially being formed there. And some more experiments of freezing outside and trying to get some repeat past experiments forming potential quasi-crystals and metamaterial crystals out of the monoatomics when flash freezing, and taking advantage, I guess, or utilizing this ridiculously cold weather currently suffering. Now here we have some ice cubes of my ionic silver and gold water, and you can see that it's forming these different fields and exclusion zones of the bubbles that freeze within the ice, and that there's actual fields that happen in my structured water, that it literally structures the ice. The structured water, when frozen, shows field forces frozen in a self-organized structure within the ice cubes of my ionic gold silver water, and these repeating fields of bubbles constantly forming, and you can see the exclusion zones of straight water between the bubbles and where the fields hold the bubbles. And that is structured water frozen into field forces, showing definitive fields and form being held within the frozen water, the ice. And that's a pretty good I guess evidence of structuring and self-organization within calling it structure, why it's called structured water, because it literally structures itself. And you can see the different fields where it holds these bubbles and forms them. And if that's not enough, we will give some more examples of my frozen structured water. Here's some more of it. these taken about 6 months apart. The first photos I just showed being just a couple days old, and this one being in the summer. You can see the green foliage out the window, maybe the fall. But again, these same structured fields of bubbles going up and freezing, holding their form, and self-organized structure within this structured colloidal water, the ionic gold silver water. Again, going up there. Oops. And here what they look like from above while still in the ice cube trays. Structured fields, forced ice. Good evening, afternoon, morning, the fourth Wiseman. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for watching, and good day. And yeah, it's, oh God, it's 1:45 a.m. here. I gotta be up in 4.5 hours. So we're gonna keep this probably to under an hour. And we're halfway through then. So here we have a triple copper coil, both in the red and blue state, switching halfway between the two, one half of the coil being blue, or one coil being blue, the other red, and literally switching in between. And here we have, and it is connected to the cathode, the negative side, and here we have a zinc strip on the anode side, and the zinc strip breaking down, but also forming into what is essentially another one of these galaxy spiral clouds of self-organization, and that it is this natural geometry of the universe that it just self-assembles in these structures, in these shapes. And yeah, now we're looking at Keppel experiments working on creating electrode saltwater batteries, along with MonoAtomics and the hydrogen production that I'm doing, working on all sorts of different designs, utilizations, and building reactors, batteries, and different technologies out of all of this electrolysis, alchemy, electrochemistry that I'm doing. Here we got some harvested pure white MonoAtomics. This one, I believe, is a mixture of copper, aluminum, and zinc. Possibly also silver in that one. Oops, which way are we going here? Showing the plasmid cloud formations. And always some at top, some at bottom, where it collects. Okay, what else? What else do we have to see? Gotti B, good to see you. All right, I want to show some more videos too. This one, maybe. Let's see if this works. If this is the right one. If it will load. Oh, maybe. Atomic silver. Oh, I guess I gotta share it, don't I? So weird. It was sharing, wasn't it? Hopefully the sound works. I'll let the video cycle through here, but at the beginning you can see a clear cloud of the silver going from the anode to the cathode. All right, let's start over. Okay, so hey, Guardian, good to see you. What's the most important point here, as you can see the turkey baster going in to suck up and harvest this monoatomic silver from the cloud here. It's about an inch thick, an inch deep off the surface, going from the anode to 2-ounce silver coins, and that it actually this cloud, you can see it's on one half of the jar, and it forms a symmetrical line going and connecting to the cathode silver 2-ounce coin on the opposite side of the reaction, and that to the right, on the right hand side, that you can see that there's no cloud, and that it just forms this connection on one half, and this flow of self-organizing materials. And that I always recommend, and as demonstrated there, during a full moon to make and harvest monoatomic silver, ionic silver, colloidal silver, all your silver products during the full moon, as they seem to be tied to the moon. Fascinating stuff right there. It's not going to let me go from one video to another. So I have to reopen. It opens. When it opens, my apologies for the delay. Is it going to work? There we go. So in this one, showing and demonstrating. So this video was filmed, I believe, like a half hour, maybe a couple hours before Good Question Quad 10, and I really need to. I have yet to, but it is something I'm desperately behind on, and need to start doing and figuring out. I actually have an old Intel Play USB digital microscope right here that I got to utilize and hook up. It's just a matter of getting the current drivers to see if it still works. And right, so well, I got an old one, so it's just I don't know if I can find the current drivers for it to work. Hopefully so, but if not, we also got I have yet to use, but got that microscope right there, a analog older one. Don't know if I have all the parts. Gotta put some time into it, right? Anyways, we need more equipment, but getting a little off topic. What we're looking at, well, it's not really off topic because it's just developing the science further, and yeah, it's something I've been meaning to do and need to put the time and effort into. All right, so what you're looking at above is at that point it is just 2 silver 2-ounce coins separated by a small piece of copper wire that is yet to be at that point connected to the anode wire. It is just a piece of copper wire with no electricity hooked to it and 2 copper coins and no cathode or anode put in at that point. Well, those 2 coins eventually become the anode. Point being, it's just 2 silver coins halfway submerged in water, and the little piece of copper between the two, and that on itself creates a differential between those 2 silver coins, with the copper being above the water, and that they self-establish themselves, one as a cathode, one as an anode, very weak, but that they then all on their own with no electrical input, you can see that cloud of monoatomic silver particulates forming and flowing down from them, and monoatomic silver being made and formed all on its own without any electrical input. That's the purpose of showing this, and I thought it's quite a spectacular little example of how easy it is to make monoatomics and the process of it. Okay. Then maybe is there this one? Sorry, I'm trying to find, yes, some spectroscopy equipment is definitely what I desperately need. Hopefully this is the video. Oh, I think it might be. I think it might just be. Okay, so this one, this third video of this monoatomic silver reaction and harvesting during the full moon. This third video was taken after the first 2 videos that I've played and shown, and after the key part was after that original harvesting that I had made and done from this reaction here, and that now you can see that the cloud has settled a bit below the top of the water there, where originally it was the top inch that the monoatomics were settled in and connecting to the anode coin over here. But it's that you can see that it's still self-organized and rearranged itself, and that it forms this chain and solid connection of the monoatomics flowing from the anode going to the cathode, and it self-organizes in that amount. And then also additionally, there's more of the monatomic silver forming and condensing and flowing downward off of the anode coins as well, so that there is two different formations of the monoatomic silver there, and both the pure white monoatomic silver material that you want to collect and harvest, non-oxidized, beautiful stuff. And you both scoop, siphon it or suck it up with like a turkey baster or syringe from that cloud at the top, and then additionally from the pile at the very bottom of the jar. And that is how you collect and harvest your monoatomic material. So there you can see all 4 silver coins that are in this jar and this reaction. So 2 on the cathode side, 2 on the anode side. Oops. Right there. So you can see how there's like this cloud of monoatomics forming and connecting between the 4 coins, between the anode and cathode, and just the structured self-organization that they do. All right, what else do we have to show before we end this live show? What can we get from American pennies? That's a great question, and it depends. And I believe that they're not even pure copper anymore, are they? Like, you're gonna have to look into that, make sure it's not what's the word, amalgamation, no, close, alloy mixture, that is pure copper, because if you have other elements in it, other metals, then you risk poisoning and not getting pure copper. So you have to check on the year. But yeah, pennies you get monatomic copper from if it is pure copper. All right, so if there's zinc in it, then that's okay. If you got zinc and copper, then you get those 2 out of it. Where's the homunculus? Great question. And it might even be in this video that I show some evidence of some of the process of forming a homunculus. And if it's not this video, it'll be one of the next 2 that I play, but it's of this experiment and mixture. This is, I had some monoatomic bismuth in this solution before, where it was a silver cathode and then a bismuth anode. And then after the bismuth anode ran out, then I connected another silver piece so that it was a silver anode and cathode that you're now seeing and recording. The importance of this video, there's several crucial key things. You see this galaxy-like self-organizational flow of monoatomics below, and then an additional flow of clouds spiraling and circling above it. And then you also see the lid that I have floating, and how when I move it, it always comes back to the very center there, that it's found itself a electromagnetic center. Very fascinating how it does that. And the surface tension strength and almost elasticity of it all. Very fascinating in this one. and that there's several fascinating things that I was able to record and demonstrate and find here. So right here, you're gonna see the small, very, very tiny bubbles constantly coming up, and then one big bubble that keeps coming up. But when it reaches the surface of the water, it shoots straight up. It doesn't just break and dissipate. It actually shoots straight up. So this is like complete different demonstration of the understanding of gases, buoyancy, and whatnot. It's very fascinating, but you'll see this big bubble that might not be this video that I get the good capture of it. Right at the beginning here, you'll see a couple times. No, almost, no, never mind. Might be the next recording that happens. Okay, this one I guess I'm showing. You can see the flow here of the MonoAtomics. This galaxy flow, quite fascinating. And that it's not all affected by what I'm doing at the surface. These different exclusion zones. Yes, all of these I'm able to rinse out dry, and they're all monatomic powders, 100%. So this is very interesting. So it's sunk here, and then you'll see how this cloud forms and goes over top of it and continues the self-organization, spiraling movements of it. Yes, well, I rinse the salt out, then I dry them out. So this is pretty fascinating how this goes over, and you'll see it continue to form, remove as it comes out, but that's not what I wanted to show. See there, it's almost attracted to the anode before centering back. All right, sorry, this was not the video. This one maybe. Camera. So slow. Oh. I guess it's a decent example of the self-organization of it. Here's that bubble, but I think it might be the next recording. Right? Thinking a golden homunculi, maybe. Just love the different galaxy spiral formations in this. Different clouds of plasma. Okay. Wasn't that one? Hopefully this one. Hopefully it is this one. Boop, boop, doo. All right. Okay, here you can actually see the bubble going up. So should be able to see the bubble. I will put a little music on in the background. Oh. Okay. It's not letting me pause it on it. Come on. Oh. All right. I swear I'm not crazy, and I hope you're getting the resolution on YouTube of it. But up right here, you'll see this drop keep shooting up, and that you'll actually see the bubble, if it plays properly, playing properly for you, shooting straight up, and it reoccurring, constantly doing this. Goes blip, and there's no, it's not water splashing back down. There's never a ripple of water bounce or dropping back. There's only the water, or that bubble, shooting straight up. So that is oxygen shooting straight up into the atmosphere or its surroundings. Very, very peculiar. Yeah, it's straight jumping, right? Gold and silver, ionic gold and silver, I would say. Zinc also, a little bit of copper, but if it oxidizes, it's poisonous. So you need the pure monatomic, and that is not health advice if you're doing health advice. But yeah, so I can show, I guess this demonstrates moving. Okay, here we go. So right here, that guy right there is part of the homunculus. That was a couple drops of blood that I put in, and it grew into this body of like cellular organic material, and it gives credence to this whole idea of homunculus. And while alive in electrified salt water, it continues to grow. And could that be how you grow clones and homunculus? There will be a zoom up of it in a moment here. And that bubble jumping should keep playing as well. I'm just going to let this play for a minute. Yeah, there's a couple good example shots of it shooting straight up. And like, this was a high-speed frame camera I was recording. Sadly, it has since broken, but at the time I was able to capture that. And in a minute here, I think I move to the other side of this container, and I actually do it on that organic blood homunculi material. So I will let this play here for a second and enjoy. just constantly keeps shooting right up there. Oh, here we go. Now you've got of this organic blood homunculi material. So that's evidence towards homunculus growth. A couple drops of blood grew into that big, I guess, I don't know, like organic cellular material. Like it's fascinating. Like that's my organic material from blood growing bigger structure and chunk of material. Right? Are octopuses aliens? I think so. They're probably from Ecladius? No. What's the moon of Jupiter or Saturn? That's a nice moon. Whatever it is. Probably from there. Who knows? But isn't this fascinating? So you got clouds of monoatomic silver just moving right there in a straight line coming out. You got others swirling, self-organizing, different layers within the water moving different directions. Hydrogen forming off the cathode here, monoatomics off the cathode. Oxygen acting weird, forming anode and shooting straight up. And then you have these bubbles that are actually suspended. They're about like a millimeter below the surface of the water. Very, very strange and interesting. And then that chunk of homunculi blood cluster matter as well in this. So again, you can see it shooting straight up here, right there. Oops. Wind it for a sec. It's like, but you can see shooting straight up behind the cursor. right there. Very, very interesting. Yeah, and right, hanging on to the surface tension, possibly. Very, right, so many different structures and effects in this. That's just had to show that, play it, and if anyone's got some explanations of what we're seeing, why that's shooting straight up, why the cap keeps going to the middle, O-bonding, right? Potentially. Gotta be some of that going on. All right. That music. I need help with creating some AI music and getting a bunch of non-copyright music to be able to play in the background, especially with experiments and such while streaming. Guess we'll share this for half more second here. Well, it's centered and paused on this organic matter structure that grew from a couple drops of blood that then like self-organized into this cluster about like this size, and then over the next several grew into this size. And I left this experiment running for a couple days, and it eventually grew into about an inch in diameter all around. It was quite fascinating. And all the experiments I've done since then, all the life and cellular stuff stays alive as long as there is electricity going into the electrolyte, the reaction there. So as long as the current is live, the life forms stay alive and grow. All right, so now we are looking at this one, a pool of red state and the red state matter. And is this a cold state superconductive metamaterial state? Potentially. It could be this hydride or this cold temperature but hot energy reactive state. I suspect and theorize and put forward and go off of some recent science discoveries of a cold red state hydride superconductive nanomaterial. I believe it was lead sulfur hydride mixture or something along those lines. I'm going to have to find the article again to look into it more. But that one there, you have copper. That is red state copper you're looking at, submersed in salt water, 5 volts going into it as an anode, and it is completely red and has made all the other material in its nanomaterial all into this red state, and both the zinc and the copper is turning into that red state material, and that is all red coming off of it, the red copper. And then here we have some of, I collected this red state material. It is the red pink state stuff that the alchemists say is the most active state right before the pink crystalline state where metals can be transmutated. This is the reactive state, and is it that cold superconductive state? And when I dried it out and had rubbed some on some aluminum foil, it had actually spontaneously combusted or ignited. So very interesting materials. And what I showed there is actually what was harvested from here. This being what is in those, what was in those pill containers that I just showed. And it was this material that I had collected, and that's grown off of a copper coil. Here you can see the additional copper coils connected to the triple copper solenoid coil above that has this pink red material growing on it. And that what you see here, all these dots, sparkles, those aren't bubbles. That's in fact like the crystalline pinkish copper state reflecting light sparkling off of whatever that growth is. And that it was just the top half of these copper solenoid coil anode that grew the red half, the bottom blue half, turning blue and oxidizing instead of going into these red, fluffy, pink material. And that I collected several samples of this red, pink, whatever it is, hydrite, copper hydrites, or something like that. That is the question, and we are going to have to get it in some labs, looked under microscopes, mass spectroscopy, all of it to figure out what we had. And yeah, they call it the red mercurial state or mercury state in old alchemy, and even in Sir Isaac's alchemy. The red state, they say, is the red mercury state. So very interesting, and potential mercury compounds that would involve straight transmutation of elements. If so, not quite sure. Thus why needing modern lab testing to find out what's actually going on in there. All right, now looking for, as gonna have to wind this video up pretty quick because it is getting late and I have to go to bed as I work fairly early. So here's a very good picture showing, and that it's half orange, half blue in the coils below, and the top part that turns into that red, pink, fluffy, crystally material. There's the entire jar showing it. And what exactly is it? That is the question. Very interesting materials. Fascinating stuff. Okay, now we are going for videos. Couple recent videos just to end this off. So there is the double spinning, self-organizing red state copper zinc in that one. Yeah, I really need some actual mercury to experiment with. I have so many ideas and experiments to try to do with actual mercury, and involving what the ancient alchemists say, but also I would need better personal protective equipment because don't want to die with mercury oxides and the rest of it. especially making that nanomaterial in my house would be rather sketchy. Let's see, is this gonna switch to the next video? Ooh, looks like it is. All right, so this is that same jar, and this is a second spiral after I had removed. There, you can see that there's no longer that zinc copper circle that was in the middle there. That coil I moved, and then no longer separating into two spirals. This time, when I added a bit of water, it self-organized into one giant spiral encompassing pretty much the whole jar. And the key part is that that is just in 1 inch of water layer that the spiral is happening, with about 2 inches of exclusion zone water above it and 3 or 4 inches of exclusion zone water below it. And that it just takes, like, it's in between those areas. It's very interesting, to say the least. What's this one? Oh, okay, so here you can see this one's still having that aluminum thing in the bottom, but you can see this is when I poured the titanium monoatomics in, and that they also self-organized into two smaller spirals, and that they're both spiraling there, pretty much separated from the center piece. And that once I removed it, you got that single spiral. So again, this one demonstrating those same two spirals separated by this guy. And that once I removed it, you got that one big one. And this one also, I believe the original, I first put in the titanium monoatomics in it, and how they self-organized into those two spirals. Very, very, it's like almost magical. It's mesmerizing is the word I was definitely looking for there, but it mesmerized me, and lost my train of thought. All right, let's continue on, as I need to get to bed. What else do we have? We've got, this one was something else. So this also had no electrical input going into it. It was just a couple of coils connected to each other. And what makes it so fascinating is these different layers, and that these clusters and chunks would stay elevated for days at these different levels, and that it's like an electrical force or electrical buoyancy more than a weight sort of density buoyancy. And they're showing hydrogen production off the coil. Ooh, maybe I do have a video of. I think It might show the bubbling. Yeah, so you can kind of see that there's still this liquid around the anode and cathode, but I'm not sure if it was able to actually capture and show the bubbles still coming up in this. It's kind of tricky to film and see, as there's the cab. There's ice. Maybe. Oh, it's just super short. Never mind. Guess it didn't really capture it. You couldn't see it as well as how it was in person. Jeez, my goodness gracious! It's 2:33 a.m. I need to get my butt to bed. To get up in a few hours to get to work. So this video here showing, so this guy is titanium, aluminum, and copper triple coil, and I'm showing there it is not plugged in at all. It had not been plugged in for a couple of days at that point, and still this a pretty steady and strong continued rate of hydrogen production and bubbling coming off of that coil that had been plugged in as a cathode. But this is 2 days after disconnecting it from the electricity, and you can see, like, look at that. That's a lot of hydrogen bubbling coming off of this thing, and it is not plugged in. It is just reacting all on its own. And I believe I'm actually doing construction tomorrow, not snow removal. So I really do need to get some sleep and be on a decent level of game and, well, work. So, all right. On that note, we will shut that guy down, and thank you, Gotti B. Was there anything else I meant to show before we go? All right. Just a quick little sneak peek at everything I've got coming to show and go over. And, well, there's thousands of pictures of so many different experiments, and we just went through a tiny amount today, and there's so many more to come, to go over, to discuss, and the implications of it all, the technology applications, sending these materials and samples off to labs for testing, and applying these new discoveries and materials and understandings into utilized applications and material technologies and machines and equipment, and yeah, builds batteries, sends some nanomaterials to all of the other backyard scientists, engineers, and inventors that we're working with, and get them using them and testing them and applying them and see what we can get going. And This was crazy. So this is when I two different monoatomic silvers that I had harvested, and this is when I was flushing them with new water for the second or third time, and it was also during a full moon, and they literally go neon for a couple hours while they settle and with the new water. It's quite something. Oh yeah, so there you go. We got like the 4 to 5 exclusion zones or fields in these ones. And yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot to see. Oops. And then all the trips that I've done as well. There's so much more. But I got to get to bed. So on that note, love y'all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
You crazy mother. Yeah.
It's just burning.